Hey everybody, Captain Joe here again with Creativity Heals, talking about how creativity supports wellness, builds resiliency, and helps with the healing process when you may be going on some kind of trauma. Happy to have a great artist, Blake Barrios of Uchida of America here with us today. Blake, thanks for being here, sir. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
So I've been sponsored with Uchida of America for a little over 10 years now, and I'm based out of Napa, California. So,
Awesome.
born and raised there.
Well, great. Well, I know as an artist you probably have a lot to say, but a question I ask everybody to start with is, what is it about creativity that can be helpful for like mental health, healing, all that kind of good stuff?
Oh, there's a really a lot that can be. It's unlimited. I don't even think there's an interview that can really, that can really cover it all. So to kind of cover some key facts and bullet points where I think creativity really comes into play here is, it's a way of communicating, right? So creativity isn't just about drawing and painting. It's not just about crafting. It's not just about sculpting. It's a way of life. It's a way that a lot of us understand the world, and creatives and those who learn through sound and music and those who don't learn as well academically, there's a lot of different benefits and, mental health benefits that come into play there.
Yeah, for sure. So, I know you run a nonprofit. You're really active in the community. Mm-hmm. Do you have any favorite stories how creativity has really made an impact on somebody's life?
There's been several. I've worked quite a bit with the Make-A-Wish Foundation, which is fantastic. Also with kids with disabilities and cancers, pre-COVID, of course, where I was an artist bedside for them and more of an Imagineer doing that. One in particular I think that really stands out was with the Make-A-Wish Foundation. There was a young man, his name was Mason, and I'll never forget his name because his Make-A-Wish was he wanted to have this toy, right, this action figure about himself, and Mattel responded to him and said they would love to make one, they needed a design. So the foundation reached out to me. I closed up shop and operations for the day and went and spent time with him and designed the entire scope of his toy from head to toe, and all the different ideas that he'd been conjuring up through his 12 years of life to have to share that with somebody, to be able to make himself into a superhero.
That's awesome. It's kind of wild. This reminds me of a story. It's amazing how much something so small can make such a big difference in someone's life, and it's amazing how much creativity can help someone in a ways you don't expect. I remember visiting a VA hospital and based in hospice, and a lady was in palliative care, and she was never getting out of the hospital. Mm-hmm. And she was doing birdhouse and decorating and leave a little piece of herself around the hospital just so she could be remembered, and that was something that she found very healing, as well as going through as she dealt with end of life type stuff. So it's awesome. Now, does it matter what you do? I know you're an artist, so you probably have a lot of other mediums you work with, but it's a pretty big bucket for when you talk about being creative. From gluing popsicle sticks to sculpting to painting fine art to making music or whatever. Does it matter what type of creative process you go through to get the benefit?
That's a good question. What I do my best to do when you work with or help others, especially with things like mental health, is I do my best to work the lesson around what they would like to do and what they're experiencing, what they're feeling, what they would like to share.
Right.
So whatever the media is, whether it's painting or sculpting or graphite or charcoal or I'm looking around the room here, you name it, any form of crafting. I usually know how to work what that is, but I let them choose a subject and I ask them why they're choosing that, and I ask them what kind of a message we're trying to convey in that. And then that's how I just encourage them and give them more or less, moral support and a lot more confidence as we go along, and show them the learning process of it. But that's also how we work therapeutically together, and how I can learn from them as an individual.
Right. Well, I really love when you talk about communicating in art, how it communicates, because sometimes when somebody's having a problem, being able to express, you can't maybe express it verbally, but maybe there's another medium you can do that to help. Well, especially when you work with a mental health care professional or something like that. Maybe letting that out, letting the boogeyman out a little bit can be very helpful and very cleansing for that. So, in the military, from my background, art is great, but not a lot of folks think about that as something that they want to do because they either think it's either touchy-feely or, maybe a little foo-foo, kind of think, oh, I'm a big guy, we don't do that kind of stuff. Or, maybe when somebody's a child or somebody like that, they don't want to do it because it's, they don't want to be, they maybe feel they're going to be judged. Somebody's going to think it's stupid. My guys, friends won't like me, so I'm not even going to try. So how do you encourage somebody when you're dealing with the community to take that first step when they want to maybe prejudge what they're going to do?
Well, a lot of encouragement just really lies in someone's, of course, self-confidence. And as I said earlier, I kind of help guide them along what they want to do, but I let them choose the subject and how they want to communicate what that is. And as far as, the self-conscious aspect of it, again, that's the first thing that comes to mind. So, people think they're going to be judged, or they think that it's not a good form of communication because it's not something, maybe a skill set they need to learn or anything else.
Right.
And it doesn't take very long for them to understand and realize, that there's a way that we can all work together on it. So, I guess to answer your question, one way I work with that form of confidence is I do a lot of group projects, and I usually really like to work with and choose those who say, well, I have no experience, or I lack in any artistic skill sets or talents, and I show them and remind them in these large murals and things like we did earlier yesterday and today, that individually we're all just one separate person and or artist, but together it's kind of like united we stand in a moment.
Right.
And so that's also a really good way to get them to come out of their shell a little bit, talk a little bit more, communicate more, creatively express more, and also where I can gauge and see where their skill sets are and what direction that they need to be taken in.
So we're here at NAPTA, and a lot of folks here, they're design products for consumers. And I know that you have done some special programs that we talked about before. So what type of advice would you maybe give NAPTA attendees when they start thinking about, like, I want to make a product and be commercially successful, but I also want it to be something that's going to help somebody maybe grow or maybe express themselves or have a little bit of healing in that?
Right. There's a few different things we can do with that. So first, if we talk about product in general, what I see a lot of the market, some having an issue with, and it's not just NAPTA, but in general, like all over the place, is people make a product, right, and then they try to sell the product. And what you need to do is you need to make a product for the consumer. Right. You need to bring them something of value to them. One thing that I really encourage NAPTA attendees, sponsors, booths, whatever you want to call all these, is I really encourage each of them how they can work together, right? You have one person that has just a booth of canvases. You have one person with a booth of paintbrushes. Right. You have one person with a booth of paints. So individually, those are just items. We know what paintbrushes and canvases are. None of them. There's nothing really that exciting about it. It's when you come together as a team and you bring them all together that they can make something and create something extraordinary. So awesome. That's what I would. That's the advice I would like to give them is to actually work on building and pitching products that grow together.
That's good advice. So we talked about a lot of stuff. Is there anything that you want to share with the audience that maybe we haven't touched on?
So right now I just joined the board of a nonprofit that's been established, I think, in 2019. It's from Sully Erna of Godsmack, and it's called the Scars Foundation. And I'm taking a role there as the West Coast mentor with arts, where we'll be doing a lot of different things, and it's all about mental health awareness as well. So, look forward to the idea of collaborating in the future like that together.
That'd be awesome. Mm-hmm. So if they want to learn more, people want to learn more about you or these nonprofits you're talking about, or is Uchida USA, where do you want to send them?
So I do have a small winery and wine label and brand called Rebellium Wines. Awesome. That's what this logo's for.
Awesome.
So probably if they go to rebelliumwines.com, that covers everything. Okay. And then that also has external links to everything that we're working on, upcoming events, nonprofit galas, and ways that they can make a difference as well.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Blake. Thank you for your time, sir.
You're very welcome.
Awesome. And thank you for listening in. We'll talk to you next time.